Welcome to Choose Greater Health with Paige Spears. We are here as part of the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Sue Rostoff, and we're so excited to have another episode of Choose Greater Health happening here today. And Paige, welcome. How are you today?
I'm great, doing great, Sue. Thanks for having me on again. And today it's an Ask Me Anything about therapeutic horseback riding.
Excellent. Well, for those that are not familiar with what therapeutic horseback riding is, can you describe a little bit to us about what exactly that all involves?
Yeah, it's, well, in my case, horseback riding to regain mobility and physical function following injury. And for others, it can be of emotional benefit, although that also applied to me in previous years. And horses can have a really good stabilizing effect on overall mental well-being too.
And how long have you been doing this?
I started horseback riding when I was 13 and 14 and have continued for the most part since then, starting out in college as an equestrian major at William Woods University. And then I started therapeutic horseback riding following the oxygen deprivation brain injury and blood clots in late 2016 into 2017. And from there, I was started out at a barn in Poplar Grove, Illinois, Bravehearts, and that's when I had private lessons initially with it's either a PT or an OT who gets certified specifically for therapeutic horseback riding. And I did a few different kinds of things with that. I started out just riding in a bareback pad and on a short, round kind of horse called a Haflinger, and it was a Palomino Haflinger named Buddy. And I did things like just starting out sitting with swinging my legs over to either side of the horse while he walked, and including facing the back and working on my balance and core strength. And then I also rode other horses, the other Haflinger mare named Sarah, and a big white one named Hercules. And I have some photos up of me riding and some videos. And I started out just doing basic things at a walk. And yeah, and I even did a thing where the instructor walked behind the horse and we each had one end of a PVC pole in our hands. So my instructor would start swinging her arms, and then that would telegraph over to me. So I had the benefit also of swinging my arms while riding the horse, and that improved my hip and arm mobility.
Amazing. So it sounds like there's a variety of things that can be done through horses for various therapeutic effects. Do you have other people that you know that have used horses in different ways? I'm just kind of curious what type of variety there all is available.
Also, I started out in private lessons and moved over to group classes again at Cedar Creek, and that is in Columbia, Missouri, about half an hour from where I live now. And well, there are a variety of clients in those classes, ranging from developmental and emotional things to physical things like mine. And there was even a blind rider in some of my independent classes.
Excellent. So, what's your favorite part about riding?
It's really getting to know my horse, and I'm one of the advanced riders. So I get a horse who I started riding her when she was new to Cedar Creek, and circled back to her again when she gained a bit more experience with the way things work at the farm. And then she used to be a trail competition horse and Western things. And so we've been to a few local shows. Well, just one with her a year or two ago, and we won the trail event portion of that class. And yeah, she also has, well, she put in a few canter strides at a trot one time, and that was fun. Things like that. And I also rode an Appaloosa Arabian mix named Yui, and he jumped over a low pole set up in the middle of the arena that everyone else was just trotting over.
That would have been a bit exciting.
Yeah, yeah, since I've had experience doing a jump competition at a camp in Indiana when I was in high school. And we also did a dressage drill routine.
Awesome. So, well, I know you said you originally had gone to school for working with horses, with the equestrian. What is, I'm not familiar with that as a subject matter like that. How does that all work? Are you going to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a horse trainer, although things were getting a bit intense for me emotionally in general. So I didn't think I was going to be able to stay with that major and do the semester of keeper, which you get a string of 2, maybe 3 horses to take care of on weekends and between things on weekdays, like stall cleaning and extra clipping and grooming and setting up farrier appointments, stuff like that. And it was, I'm, I'm not exactly sorry that I left. And I don't know how that all would have completely worked out had I stuck with it.
Oh, good. So, um, you said that you often get to work with your same horse for a while to get to know the horse that you're with. How long have you been with
Yeah,
your
I'm
current
an
horse?
amateur trainer in class. Like I work with Zoe and keep her in line and moving in a good way and behaving herself nicely.
Are there other people in with you as well, or is it something that's relatively independent?
Well, we all have a leader and sidewalkers on the trail, for instance. We go on trail rides in class, and that's fun. And sometimes, if a horse has a propensity to act silly during the trot or anything like that, and sometimes I have sidewalkers, and sometimes I don't. And the leader will either keep the horse hooked up with the lead rope or not, depending on the situation.
So, what is your favorite part about working with the horse?
That I get to do things at an advanced level. And well, we have shows at the end of every season of classes. They usually run about 6 to 8 weeks. And so we get to do a pattern then, and everyone gets a medal or a ribbon, whichever it is that season. And we also get to do fun things like drawing on their white patches with chalk dipped in water.
That's fun. I've never heard of that. That's really nice.
And for the
Wow.
therapeutic angle, there are things like games on horseback, like ring toss or basketball or beanbag toss and tic tac toe. And yeah, I can pull Zoe up right alongside those and pretty good at it.
Amazing. I love it. Um, tell us a little bit more about what you all do on a normal day. What is the routine like?
We do warm up exercises, and that's things like arm circles and moving our hands and arms around and getting the shoulders loosened up and in a good frame for riding, and taking our feet out of the stirrups and moving our ankles around and reaching forward to touch the horse's ears or close to them, which I can do, and backward to touch the horse's tail. I can also do that on either side. and sometimes also leaning down with one hand to touch our foot in the stirrup. And then we might move into steering practice and weaving in and out of cones along the sides of the arena. And we do some of that. And then we might go on a trail ride and then we trot. And sometimes we've had relay games set up or the games that I mentioned with the carnival games sort of thing. And then when it comes to the show, and that's the last class of the season, then we do the warm ups and a little bit of steering, and then we get a short pattern that we do, and we each go one at a time and do that.
So, and how many days a week do you go?
It's once a week. It's been on Wednesday nights for quite a while now. And the spring session just wrapped up in mid-May. It went from late March until late May, and then the summer season is all of July, and I'm taking the summer off so I can do other things like neuro movement sessions. And the show will be on a day when we are on family vacation in Michigan, so wouldn't be there anyway. And then I'll pick up in September again. And that goes until November.
And so how many years now have you been using the horses this way with the therapeutic riding?
I started therapeutic horseback riding in, I think, August or September of 2016. And I've been consistent with it through 2017 and since then. And I've done at least one season at Cedar Creek since then.
Awesome. So is this something that you intend to continue into the future?
Yeah. And I even got to ride with the veterans group. I think it was in spring or summer session of 2018. And the veterans class was the one that was still had a spot open that season. So I got into that and I got a ride from a neighbor. And so because it was in the afternoon. And as it happened, one of those classes, there was a reporter from the local paper there, and she did a story about me and another one of the veterans in the class. And so me and my horse Buddy were on the front page of the paper.
That's pretty cool. Wow. Well, I know you also have a business as well that's got some relation to what you're all talking about here as well. Want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, therapeutic horseback riding will be one of the options available, and I hope to include a therapeutic horseback riding professional PT or OT in my professional directory, and there will be an opportunity for all of those professionals to give a presentation to my membership community every month and provide referrals.
So now I know, like, we're at a water ski club, and those of us that have been doing it for a while, it's very much like a family atmosphere. We get to know each other pretty well. Is it similar when you get into working with horses and the people that tend to come often? Does it get to be a tight knit community?
Yeah, for the most part, there are some people around the barn that we get to know well, and we have a holiday party every year at a local restaurant in December. And that's when we have the annual awards, and that was when we actually had it at the barn in 2021, and that's when I got the Rider of the Year award.
Oh, that's pretty exciting. So, do you know what was it that all contributed to you getting that Rider of the Year award?
That was years when I was there every season and general progress, and flexibility in horses, and everything added up.
And congratulations for being awarded that. That's pretty amazing. I love that. What else can you tell me about the therapeutic riding that we haven't talked about yet?
Actually, the barn where I started was one where I had done some volunteer hours in middle school and high school, although the ownership changed by the time I went there as a client, and I first found out about it at a support group meeting in Rockford, Illinois, where I spent the first year or so recovering with my parents. And from there, I got the referral to Cedar Creek.
Amazing. So I know you're saying about recovering. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what all has led you down this path, and what has inspired you to create your website and to continue doing these things that you're doing to help others?
Yeah, it was all based on my particular challenges with, well, I got done with standard inpatient therapy and rehab, and even standard outpatient therapy. Although while I was in outpatient, I was also finding the other things, like I found neurofeedback and Brave Hearts when I was initially done with inpatient therapy, and got those set up in Illinois within a few weeks. And I continued doing my own research as I could and finding all of the options available, and want to share those with others and hopefully shortcut the process for them.
And that's important, because I know when you're looking for what resources are there and having a hard time finding them, and they're to be able to have a place to go to find the resources you need, that's pretty important. You don't have time to be digging around. You need to be able to just go somewhere and get the information you need. So it's pretty good that you're able to provide that for others, and you're able to share what you've all learned.
Exactly. Yeah.
And what is your website?
My website is paigespears.com, and there may be some of my podcast guest episodes uploaded there.
And yeah, you've had some wonderful guests on here in past weeks. So if anyone has not checked that out yet, that is definitely worthwhile to go on and listen to some of the ones that are recorded and available now. You'll get lots of tidbits along the way and insights that are very worthwhile.
I also have a Facebook group called the Choosing Greater Health Community.
So, actually, say that again. What's the name of the group?
My Facebook group is called the Choosing Greater Health Community.
Perfect. I love the things you're doing, and that you're able to get out and share this with others, and to be able to continue with a passion that you started back when you were like 13 years old, with the horseback riding. If you ever had the chance, would you have your own horse?
I've always borrowed horses, although I did bring the Cedar Creek Therapeutic Horseback Riding instructor on as a guest at my local brain injury support group in Columbia when we were still in person.
That's beautiful. And to be able to have acts like that and be able to share people's experiences and expertise is perfect, because that people can only enjoy and learn and grow from all those. So when you think back to different guests that you've had on here, do any particular topics or guests stand out in your mind, and anything you want to kind of tease people with to go back and find those episodes?
Everything being energy, and my interview with Annie Salles that was recorded a while ago, and also anything that's been mentioned about nutrition.
Nutrition is a big piece of life for all of us, and making good choices. And like your podcast name is, your Choose Greater Health. You want to share a little more about why you chose that name for this?
Because it's all about options and new choices and the path that's right for each individual.
And be able to have, again, the resources and knowing what's available and being able to have the options to be able to make those good choices. Being focused on health is we all should be, right? And sometimes we don't. So having that reminder of doing that is very important and should be a primary thing for all of us to keep in mind.
Yeah, I like to think of my business and what I do as having the flexibility that standard medicine perhaps doesn't to bridge the gaps in care.
Because there definitely are gaps out there. What are some examples of things you've seen that you're hoping that you're able to help close that gap on?
Cluing people into the fact that there, in addition to standard neurology, is functional neurology and chiropractic care, and that should really be a referral outside of the standard model, and also neuro movement, and that helps all kinds of brain injury survivors, and neurofeedback, and the nutrition part of it. Functional nutrition and nutritional psychiatry can really go a long way for mood and emotional stability.
Well, and I know I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are not familiar with those different types of therapies. Can you talk a little bit about what they are and what they do?
And I can probably bring in a guest expert in those areas at some point too. And it's using nutritional testing to find nutritional deficiencies that may be contributing to mood instability and issues like that, and can come in place of psychiatric medications.
To be able to fix things with good nutrition versus having to take some type of drugs to fix what's going on. That makes so much sense. Going the natural route and just, again, making good choices. So, oh my gosh. It's like that should be what we all are looking to do. And and a lot of people just don't know what they don't know. So if you don't know that there's an option out there to be able to figure out what nutritionally is missing within a person. So is that the type of information you find more resources?
Yeah, the resources that I share are definitely along those lines. And I've also concluded that my injury was also pharmaceutical overload related, that the blood clots came from all the things that I was taking.
So the doctors that were supposed to be making you better didn't do all of that's a hard one, isn't it? Because the doctors are taught that they should be prescribing all these different things and fix all these problems or somehow improve our health. And then when that ends up being not the right answer, like you said, you had kind of an overload of what they gave you, and that didn't work out.
Yeah, long term, over 12 years. And I had a few different doctors prescribing things also, and not much communication between them.
Gotcha. So yeah, communication in that. Wow. I wonder how many other people can relate to exactly what you're saying, because I know there's a chunk of the population that has that same exact experience where they've got many different doctors, they're all doing their own thing, prescribing what they think is right, and then in the end, with all of those pieces working together, they end up not working together and not meeting the patient's best interests.
Yeah, when what we don't know does hurt us.
Right. Yeah. Have you encountered others that have had similar experience?
Well, there have been some others in the blood clot support groups who have had similar causes of blood clots being combo hormonal birth control. Although my case was interesting because I took them for 12 years without incident and then it all went south.
Oh my goodness. So it had a good track record, and then something
But it
changed.
was a combination of everything.
Ah, gotcha. So with where you are now, I know the therapeutic horseback riding is a big component of what you do. What other types of recreational activities do you have other recreational activities that you take on alongside the horseback riding, or is that your main thing right now?
That's my primary one.
Excellent. Have there been others that you've tried, and this has just been the best for you? Or because I know you've got the history with horses, so it makes perfect sense that that's where you are focusing.
Yeah, and where my movement challenges are, it works best for me to be seated on a horse. Since dance is a bit more complex.
Yeah. So depending on what a person's goals are and what their abilities are, there are options out there, and I bet there's people that are listening that maybe didn't know that therapeutic horseback riding is something they can consider, and that this might be the best solution for them and what they're experiencing.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get started with horseback riding as a therapy, where would be kind of a starting point for them? How would they go about that?
There's an American Therapeutic Horseback Riding Association, I think it might be called. And anyway, an online search will probably turn up a good variety of results local to the person.
Excellent. And I'm under the impression it's a pretty common thing across the United States that there's options, and depending on where a person lives, they should be able to find something relatively close, as long as they're not in too rural of an area, perhaps. But I'm under the impression there's quite a few options out there.
Yeah.
So, and have you always worked at the same location, or has there been other places you've gone as well?
I've ridden at the one in Poplar Grove, Illinois, about 20 minutes from Rockford, and then Cedar Creek is about 40 minutes from Fulton in Columbia. And those are the ones that have been local to me.
How large are these facilities? How many horses do they have?
Bravehearts has gotten, I think, bigger than Cedar Creek, and Cedar Creek has something like 25 horses approximately.
Wow, I'm picturing the beauty right now. Horses are gorgeous animals. They're absolutely beautiful, and to have somewhere along the lines of 25 at a location like that, beautiful. I can imagine a lot of work. Is that something that as somebody involved in the facility like you have been, do you end up taking part in the care of the animals as well?
Maybe if I lived closer, though those barns are a good retirement home for the horses, and like school horses at William Woods, maybe one or two of them have gone to Cedar Creek.
So, and with you going in there one day a week, how long are you there at a time?
Oh, I'm there usually for an hour and a half total when I go for a class.
When you think about the different things they've had you do on the horses and with the horses, what is your favorite thing to do?
Trail riding and drawing with chalk.
And with the trail riding, what does that look like? Is that actually like, is it through the woods somewhere, or is it around?
Yeah, there are woods at the end of the driveway behind the barn, and it's really pretty in there. And there's also the Cedar Creek itself that runs through there, and there's also a trail that for just for horses that goes to the back pastures. And some of the horses say hello when they're in the pasture from the fence line.
And how big is the group that you work with when you're there? Is there just a couple people, or is there maybe a dozen?
An average of 8 per class.
8, okay. That's a good size. So eight per class, and is it basically one instructor that leads all that?
Yeah, one instructor usually. Well, actually two. There's Karen and there's Sarah. And Karen is the lead instructor, and she lives on property. And she and Sarah have been at Cedar Creek a long time.
Excellent. So, and I know you said you are one that you come back season after season. Is that pretty common too? That those that are there are coming back, or are there a lot of new people that join the mix as well?
About half new, half returning.
Oh, and that makes it nice. Do they put you guys that are returners in a position to help out with some of those that are new?
Yeah, and sometimes we have different people moving into the advanced class from the assisted classes, and the other classes have sidewalkers and leaders all the time for those.
Very fun. Oh, and with those that you've had class with, what kinds of are they? I guess are in a class. If you guys are doing a trail ride, everybody does the trail ride together, or do you guys split
Yeah,
into different groups?
we all go together.
Excellent.
Usually have to wait for Bruno, the full-blood Percheron, somewhere in the line.
Oh my gosh. So I'm not as familiar with breeds of horses as I think I am.
It's a draft
Are these
horse.
horses? That's a draft. Very nice. So, okay, so describe the most to me.
Yeah, draft horses like full Percherons are on the larger side, depending on the height and weight needs of riders in a class. And also, Buddy was a Percheron Haflinger mix, so he was on the shorter side, but still around. And I've ridden a Gypsy Van horse mare named Latte, and also her son Tally, and they were on the larger side. Tally was mostly black, and Latte was the black and white one. And she was the one that I rode in my first season at Cedar Creek, fall of 2017. And I also rode her in the local show we went to.
So in the year that you won the award, what was that? Did that have anything to do with the horse you were on, or was it more with the role that you were playing throughout the year?
My skill and growth as a rider.
Very good. I love it.
Yeah, I've had experience with a few different horses at Cedar Creek.
And which one's been your favorite?
Zoe is my current favorite, and she's the one I usually ride.
How long have you been working with Zoe?
For about the last 2 years regularly, although there was one class last year when she was inclined towards pitching a bit of a fit, and so I switched mid-class and rode Audie the mule, who I got to trot.
Oh, that's fun. Wow. I love all the things you've done with working with horses and with what you put together with your website. If you want to just recap a little bit here about what if somebody was interested in knowing more with the therapeutic horseback riding, you want to just give a bit of a summary again of who is it appropriate for? Who should reach out and think about pursuing that as an option?
Someone with physical or emotional challenges, and they are the kind of person who likes the idea of working with horses.
And does the person need to have any experience before they start?
No.
So they can come brand new and they'll learn everything they need to know then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very fun. And so as a take-home message then for everyone for today, what final thoughts do you have that you'd like everybody to know?
Horses are fabulous listeners, and it's horseback riding and being around horses is also a good metaphor of teamwork and work with people in general.
Excellent. And as you said that, I have heard before how horses can be very intuitive and can tune in very well to people and their emotions and just their state of being. Has that been what you've experienced as well?
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, well, Paige, this has been absolutely wonderful getting to have a chance to learn more about what therapeutic horseback riding is all about. And again, if people want to know more information about what Paige does and all the resources available, PaigeSpears.com is a place you can go. And gosh, any last thoughts from you, Paige?
And the Choosing Greater Health group on Facebook.
Excellent. Choosing Greater Health on Facebook. So this again is Choose Greater Health podcast here with Paige Spears. This has been such a fun conversation. So with you. Thank you so much for all you do and for the big heart that you have, that you're able to reach out and help others the way you do. I absolutely applaud you and all your efforts. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to the next episode next time.